Namaste. Greetings, dear ones. In 2021, we saw the ending of the year of the Iron Mouse and the dawning of the Tibetan year of the Iron Ox. For my New Year's message this year, I'd like to take a few minutes to reflect on what the Iron Ox has taught me. With the outbreak of the pandemic in 2020, I took an instant dislike to the Iron Mouse, the animal who presided over most of that year. It's only when I look back that I can see how I spent 2020 doing what mice do best, hiding away for safety and popping out when nobody was around. The ashram and its beautiful garden was my cozy little mouse hole, and Dakota Ridge my place to pop out on a trail that only the deer use. When Losar 2021 dawned, the Tibetan New Year, and the Iron Ox came into play, I was more accustomed to adversity. I've kept the Losar greeting card up all year to remind me of the wisdom of the ox, patience, persistence, hard work, and quietude. The ox has guided me in my decisions all year long. When we meet a challenge, we have to make a quick assessment: fight, flee, hide, or just carry on regardless. Does this challenge ask us to make a drastic change, or to be more committed than ever to what we've been doing? Because it was the year of the ox, I've chosen to carry on, even when obstacles seemed insurmountable. For all of us, the ox has offered the invitation to carry on keeping ourselves safe and protecting others as the pandemic continues. Time and again, we've been tempted to let our guard down and try to get back to normal. And time and again, our friend the ox has reminded us to be patient and persistent. It's not over until it's over. Omicron is not Omega. The ox is deeply loving in a quiet way, and COVID has shown us that sometimes staying away is the most loving thing to do. With my family scattered around the world, Wales, England, Ireland, France, Germany, and no chance of going for a visit, we've all learned to reach out in other ways. Virtual birthday cake, anyone? Here at Alandi, the biggest Oxia challenge came in late spring, when we were confronted with the reality of our home being sold from under us. And this little house is not just where we live, it's also our clinic, our school, and our place of worship and ceremony. How could we replace our temple, our healing room, our pharmacy, our fire pit? Given a week to make a quick decision, I turned to the patient and persistent ox and knew that somehow or other we would carry on. It seemed impossible that we could purchase $1 million building, but the ox told us, just keep going. In trust, we planted our garden, not knowing if we would be there to reap the fruits. And sure enough, a miracle happened. Our neighbors Whitney and Oliver decided to buy the building so we could continue our work. Not only that, they converted the garage into a beautiful on-site classroom to replace the one we were leasing downtown. The ox is rooted to the earth, and he has supported us in staying rooted in the place where our apple tree blossoms and our roses bloom. We, like the trees, have put down our roots, connected ourselves to the earth through our garden and our earth-healing ceremonies, and here we are staying until the universe gives us other orders. All of us here in Boulder have needed the strength of the ox this year when a horrific mass shooting occurred at Table Mesa King Soopers on March 22nd. I never imagined that our first time going out among people, a year after lockdown started, would be a vigil for a mass shooting. And our first time on public transport was to go to the informal memorial outside King Soopers. Flags had been at half-staff already to honour the victims of the Atlanta spa shootings. Now they were at half-staff for 10 days in honour of Boulder's own. At this point, I began to wonder if the flags would ever rise again to the top of the mast. Let's persevere with efforts to curb gun violence and end mass shootings. In our lives as human rights activists, we've also needed to find the patience and persistence of the ox. On March 16th, I recorded my video, Syria 10 Years On, What Does Never Again Mean? For 10 years, Syrians have protested, have struggled, have suffered for the rights we take for granted every day, and they have not given up. They drown in the Mediterranean or in the English Channel. They freeze on the border between Poland and Belarus. They are tortured and starved in Assad's notorious prisons. They live under bombs and sieges and in tents amid floods and dust storms. Yet they do not give up the quest for freedom and dignity. And because they do not give up, we cannot give up on them. Although the pandemic changed our methods of activism, we still continue putting sand in the machine of oppression, little by little, every day. The iron ox comes around only every 60 years, so we need to absorb his wisdom and carry it with us. He is the toughest, most tireless, and most determined ox. One area where we need his ongoing support is the laborious and lengthy process of gaining justice for crimes against humanity. If there is no accountability for nerve gas attacks on defenseless children, for relentless bombing of hospitals, schools, clinics, and markets, for starvation sieges, for torturing and starving our opponents, then we are back in the ancient world where might is right and tyrants rule. It's easy to turn our backs on crimes committed in faraway countries. But if hospitals can be bombed and doctors killed in Syria with impunity, then no hospital is safe, no healthcare worker safe anywhere in the world. The January the 6th insurrection was a signal that our democracy is more fragile than we imagined and needs to be protected. One of the key ways to protect liberal democracy the world over is to ensure that crimes against humanity do not go unpunished. To this end, the long-awaited film, Bringing Assad to Justice, by our friends Ronan Tienan and Anne Daly, has finally come out. They laboured long and hard to bring us this film. I encourage all of us to watch it and become part of the effort to end impunity, an effort largely being carried out by citizen journalists and amateur researchers. Next Losar, March 3rd, 2022, the wild and quirky water tiger will step forward, and the iron ox will yield his place. Let's carry his wisdom with us as we embrace what the new year brings. I wish you and yours many blessings, peace, prosperity, and comfort in the coming year. Namaste.